Lindstrom for Kako. Kako backhand scores.
This is Kaapo Kakko. Taken second overall in 2019 to the New York Rangers, he was supposed to be the face of New York hockey in the 2020s. He broke the U18 goal record in the Finnish league and was almost taken over Jack Hughes for first overall. As it stands, he's tied for the highest drafted Finnish player in the history of the NHL. So, 6 years later, why doesn't he play in New York anymore, and why does no one know if he's actually good or not? Flashback to Kakko's rookie season, he was hyped up as being a puck control monster who can play make and facilitate on his own. The offseason projections had him stapled as a first or second liner for New York as an 18-year-old, but through his first 9 games in the NHL, he had 2 points and was a minus 12. It was grim. It didn't feel like he was ready for the NHL, and it was noticeable to just about anyone who watched. New York kept him up on the main roster for the entire season, however, and didn't even try him in the AHL. In hindsight, yeah, that's pretty confusing, but even at the time, it didn't exactly feel like the right move. Coming out of Finland, Kakko was supposed to be a serious playmaking threat who can hold on to the puck until the right play emerges. This is a super high ceiling player type who can facilitate your entire offense from the wing. The playmaking felt elite at this level, and considering he was playing against men in the Finnish league, the transition shouldn't be too difficult, right? He gains control of the puck near the goal line and makes a move to retain possession. He stops and starts to gain separation, and on the second move, he gets little room to cut into the slot before making a hard pass to the open man for the goal. It's beautiful, but it's something you can't do in the NHL at that tempo, which is a little bit slow. Defenders don't give you an open lane into the slot because, one, there's actually less ice in the NHL, and the defenders tend to know the tricks a little bit better. This move will work every day in the Finnish league, but if a defender lets that happen in the NHL, he's getting a Tortorella iPad thrown at him. Kakko excelled at taking advantage of worse defenders, but wasn't really capable of making a move on a good defender. Unfortunate position to be in as a player because it always feels like you're just one step away. Some time to learn how to adapt to the NHL ice while keeping his swag would have been smart, especially while he was still learning at a younger age. Flash forward to the start of the 2022-23 season, and he just set a career high with 40 points, but it came from playing with prime Zibanejad and Kreider. At 21 years old, he's actually one of the better puck handlers in the league and can sustain offensive zone time just using his frame to stave off defenders. He keeps it well out of reach of defenders, especially smaller ones. He makes Rasmus Sandin look like a child as he pushes through him and is able to drive to the net, but he wasn't quick enough getting a shot off to turn this into a highlight. In 2023, Kaapo Kakko is a project that looks like he's on the verge of breaking out. Puck control is probably his strongest trait, but he's pushing off of Casey Mittelstadt here, someone you wouldn't necessarily rank as a strong player. I think Kakko knows when he has the advantage physically, and he really likes to lean into it. I actually like this part of his game a lot. Getting strong scoring opportunities is another trait for 21-year-old Kaapo Kakko. By the way, this is season number 4 in the NHL. Damn, 21 years old. Not only is he getting better at playing off of talented players, but he's better at finding open space near the net. He's getting quite strong at generating rebounds and scoring off of rebounds, which is useful come playoff time. And, again, he's only 21 years old. Sure, he's playing with first liners, but he's recognizing that his shot isn't actually amazing, and if he is going to score, it's going to come from crashing the net more or shooting from a closer range. His average shot distance at 5v5 went from 33.8 feet the year before to 25.7 feet this season. Kakko kind of looks like he's finding his role in the NHL. His playmaking? Yeah, it's fine, but it's not elite, which is a shame considering how exciting it was in Finland. You're starting to get the picture of what Kakko could be in the NHL, and you get the feeling that this isn't the end of the road for him as a player. By 2023-24, unfortunately, he wasn't able to build on the season and actually took a massive step back. His high danger scoring chances per 60 dropped by about 30%, but I think there's a bit of a tragedy here at play. Through the first 15 games of this season, he had 1 goal and 1 assist. Terrible, honestly. Terrible. But his on-ice shooting percentage at 5v5 was 4% in that span. His advanced stats are actually quite good. 6th on the team in 5v5 expected goals for percentage, and 3rd on the team in 5v5 high danger chances percentage. When he was on the ice, the Rangers were actually pretty good, and when he was on the ice, the Rangers tended to be really good at getting high danger opportunities. So his line was generating chances, they were getting their looks, but they just weren't going in. Through 15 games, 1 goal, 1 assist, playing 15 minutes a game, from the rest of the season onwards, he was averaging about 12 minutes a game. His playmaking numbers dropped significantly, and it looked like he became focused on being a role player in the Rangers system to help them win a cup. Is that a coaching conversation that swayed his development? Is it a personal goal that, as he didn't like his own style of game? I don't know if we can ever figure it out for sure, but as Jack Hahn said, Kakko hasn't shown the ability to bend the game to his favor. He's looking to play the team game instead of productively stepping outside of it like Panarin or Fox. Kaapo Kakko is a slower playmaker with a natural talent for controlling the puck and finding a play. That's the kind of guy you don't draw plays around as much as you wait for them to find an opportunity to make their own play. I think Kakko's confidence was absolutely shot after having his ice time limited last year, and he made the choice to stick in the NHL playing a bottom six role instead of trying to become the superstar that he had the potential to be.
You were playing with them at the start of the season, and then you weren't, and then you got hurt.
It didn't work out when we started the season, I feel like that. And then I didn't play with those guys anymore. Also didn't play that much after that.
It's sad, but after having the least productive season of his career and almost being traded at the deadline, we're now at the 2024-25 season this year, where he was a healthy scratch for a handful of games and played most of his minutes with Hedl and Cooley, which, by the way, the line had great offensive figures, getting about 60% expected goals for percentage when they're on the ice together. It's only when Kakko played with Cooley and Brodzinski or Edstrom and Smith that his expected goals percentage was bad. But he's still on pace for about 40 points, which would tie his career high. But this time he isn't playing with Zibanejad and Kreider. Kakko has actually learned to play a very strong defensive game despite being slower, which is, I think, a testament to his IQ and willingness to learn. So, on December 18th, 2024, the defensively responsible winger on pace for about 40 points was traded to Seattle for Will Borgen and a second-round pick. Terrible.
I'm going to Seattle.
Okay, so it's present day. Kaapo Kakko has been a Seattle Kraken for about 2 months, and you probably heard about how great he was playing when he first landed there. 13 points in his first 14 games. He's getting highlight after highlight. Did Seattle finally unlock him? I don't think so. Okay, let's dive into this though. The Athletic ranks him as a $4.5 million player who is better defensively than offensively, but you could really see him being useful in any situation. He doesn't kill any penalties, but since coming to Seattle, he's found a home on the first power play unit. We'll talk more about that in a minute. When Kakko first arrived in Seattle, his game score, an advanced stat used by The Athletic, rose dramatically as he was frequently collecting 2-point games, making beautiful stretch passes, and fitting into Seattle seemingly perfectly. As the sample has risen for Kakko, however, we're starting to see him fit into the role that he should be at to this point in his career. We've gone over the puck control and playmaking already with Kakko. They're great, but it's not elite. The exciting thing here is that there are some games where he actually feels like Seattle's best playmaker. A creative passer needs confidence, otherwise they're going to default towards a safer option. Part confidence and part having line mates that trust him with the puck. He tries moving his cinder block feet on this play before making a beautiful tape-to-tape pass for the breakaway goal. Against Pittsburgh, he makes a great read on Karlsson to take it away with momentum. On the 2-on-1, he's getting better at not telegraphing his passes. Still, I think if you were in a playoff series against Seattle, you know he's passing this 80% of the time. It was close and Kakko was almost too slow, but he made the right play and it's a Seattle goal. You'll notice the takeaways on these plays. He operates so well on the counterattack, another trait that points to his high overall IQ. The problem here, and the problem that's been involved with Kakko his entire career, is that he is one of the slowest players in the league. There's no one close to him in age that's as good as him and as slow as him. That's keeping him from fully realizing his potential in this league. Look at a guy like Jonathan Huberdeau, who was never considered quick. He was still around the 50th percentile when he was putting up 100-point seasons as a playmaking winger. This lack of speed means he has to make quicker reads to be somewhere before a play arrives. He's using his IQ to stay afloat rather than making an advantage. It's a shame, but I don't know if it will ever change. But you do wonder what would happen if he could change. In the last 3 seasons, Kakko was a top 3 player on the Rangers in carried exits. This stat heavily favors faster players. Kakko is purely there from skill with the puck and knowledge of the game. In Seattle, Kakko is primarily playing with Schwartz and Beniers. It's a decent line, but they're all better defensively than offensively. The chemistry works well, as none of them are necessarily quick. They can all play, make, and defend, but I still think this is just what you get from the current Kakko in the right system. This season isn't Kakko breaking out, per se. So we know he's good defensively. We know he has a strong game IQ. We know he can pass and control the puck like an elite player, but we also know his feet are just too slow. As we're starting to see Kakko's numbers come back down to earth, you gotta wonder what's next for him in Seattle. Can he be a first-line contributor, or even better? Can he ultimately be worth that second overall spot? I see 3 issues with Kakko that he needs to figure out if he wants to be that second overall Kaapo Kakko. 1. Figure out the skating. When I say figure it out, I mean that there are guys like Jason Robertson, Matt Tkachuk, and Mark Stone who are actually all slower by almost every metric. Still, they're all NHL level talent. I think there are 3 archetypes that Kakko can pursue if he wants to be on that elite level. The all-skill puck control star who makes strong plays on the fly, the all-physical forechecking demon who crashes the front of the net, or the two-way counter-attacker that makes plays from the wing. All the best slower players tend to be wingers, as they all had to find a way to change their style to fit the pace of the NHL, and on the wing it's just a little bit easier to do so. A trend I've seen is a noticeable improvement in Kakko's hitting this season, making me think he's trending towards the Tkachuk or Stone archetype rather than the Jason Robertson archetype. He's already strong defensively with an active stick, but he also has more hits in his 27 games as a Kraken than he has in any other complete season in his career. I think it makes sense to hit more as Kakko, because if you're going to be a larger body, use it. If you can't move out there, get lighter. Either be big or be quicker. I think he goes for a mix of the 3 and kind of creates his own archetype, but if he had to pick one, I think his dream archetype is Mark Stone. 2. His scoring needs to get better. Almost all of his goal scoring comes from right in front of the net. We've seen Zach Hyman almost set a playoff goal scoring record out of this, but Hyman is a lot quicker and he has Connor McDavid on his team. As teams prep for Kakko more, especially in a playoff series, they're going to start playing the pass a lot more. His shot just isn't enough of a threat right now to justify prioritizing it. If his shot gets better, I think it's going to make his playmaking even more lethal. A random stat I noticed that kind of points to his lack of confidence in goal scoring: he has more backhand goals in his rookie season than the rest of his career combined. His first career goal was a backhand beauty on the breakaway. I want to see this more. It was pretty effective, and if he kept working on it, I think it could have been a useful way to score. That being said, it's easier to get breakaways if you're faster, and being this slow, I don't know if you can get that many. And number 3, Kakko should try to become a staple on the penalty kill. Without a consistent role in the PK, it's hard for a team to justify paying big bucks for Kakko, but a lot of the penalty killers around the league tend to be quicker. They have to be the first to the play to get possession in a puck battle, and the really quick ones can frequently create a counterattack the other way. What Eric Holla and Nick Dowd have been able to do on the 2nd and 5th best penalty kills in the league, despite being relatively slower skaters, seems like a model for what Kakko could be in the future. Always keep your feet moving, comes down to high IQ and not getting into a position where you're unable to recover from. Still, there isn't a single player who has played 50 plus minutes on any of the top 10 penalty kills in the league who is as slow as Kakko is now. Shout out Mark Stone, who just missed the mark. As it stands, Kakko just doesn't block shots the way a slower penalty killer will need to, and even still, he's going to have to be faster if he wants to have a role in the PK. If Kakko can work on his skating, even getting near the respectable NHL average, he has a high-end role in the NHL laid out for him. If he can't improve his foot speed, finding out how to make the slow speed work for him is crucial, and it needs to come in the next few years. Then, if he improves his shot and gets to the point where he can beat a goalie clean 20 feet out, the playmaking is going to come a lot easier. Defenses will have to respect it more, and you'll find that the playoff numbers won't crater as much as they have the past few seasons. Kaapo Kakko is creative with the puck, and he gets himself into high danger areas. The fact he basically needs to pass to make an effective play is killing the opportunities he's creating. Finally, if he can make a roll on that penalty kill, yeah, I could see Kakko being considered a first-line talent. The kind of guy that goes for $8 million a season in today's NHL and not $4.5 million like the Athletic says he's at. Kaapo Kakko has got natural talent and high IQ. It feels like this kind of prospect just doesn't come around much, where the hardest part of his development has been the stuff you see from strong second-round prospects. He has the IQ and he makes all-star level plays at times, but just doesn't have the shooting or skating. You can say his player archetype is a slow, puck-controlling two-way playmaker, kind of like a Jonathan Huberdeau or maybe a Nito Niederreiter. New York screwed up his development, absolutely, but this wasn't the kind of prospect that can develop on a contender like the Rangers. The fact they could have traded him in a package for Eichel back in 2021 and they didn't is a testament to how poorly they diagnosed Kakko as a prospect. He wasn't ever going to develop in their system. He was never going to get consistent top-line minutes. Almost all of his high-end power play time as a Ranger happened in his rookie season. As soon as New York figured out they had a 5-man unit that worked for them, they should have been looking to trade Kaapo Kakko for help on defense, or for that Jack Eichel trade. Like, oh my god, no way that was available and they didn't do it. I think there's a chance Kaapo Kakko could become a first-line guy for Seattle, but I'm not sold on it as a possibility. He didn't make the initial Team Finland lineup for Game 1 at the Four Nations, and he turned 24 years old last week. It's getting to the point with him where there's a bit of a timer to see if he can ever become that top-line talent. You don't want to write him off, and you don't want to call him a bust just yet, but clock is absolutely ticking, and this offseason might make or break his reputation around the league. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe and comment down below if you'd be interested in listening to a podcast. I have a bunch of random ideas I would love to talk about, but I think it fits better in a podcast world than in a YouTube video. if this is something you're interested in, leave a fun comment. That'd be cool. I'll read it. I'll probably give it a heart. Thank you so much for watching. Bye-bye.